Welcome to Riverbend Talon on WBGZ. Brought to you by the Halpin Music Company.
All right. Halpin Music Company. And Macias Insurance agent Matt Van Voorhis. Those are the sponsors of Riverbend Talent here on Thursday nights. Also,
we need a new microphone for that side over there. Let's talk to Halpin.
I just pulled it off as I tried to pull it close, didn't I? Also sponsoring our engineer who puts up the videos and helps with the audio recording.
Michael
that's
Crider. Some tremendous audio we've been putting out.
Well, yeah, no.
We know whose fault it is now. Highersounds.com.
No, that was no.
He works for Higher Sounds, don't he?
Yeah.
I just gave you a free plug.
So tonight, though, I'm pretty excited about our guest tonight. We actually interviewed Mr. Kevin Hamilton. Man, it's been a couple months back, and we've been so busy promoting all the Happy Trails and Family Fest and Happy Trails and Trinity River Fest. A lot of festivals popping around here.
Yeah,
and gigs that. We sat on it just like we did the Bonnie Bramlett for just a minute, and Kevin Hamilton, man, this guy is he's the real deal when it comes to producing and engineering. He's a very, very smart individual. You could tell right off the bat when you start talking to him.
What was the name of them studios that's famous in L.A.? I don't remember. I didn't listen to it. I did like 6 months ago or whenever we did it.
He worked with quite a few of the big studios in L.A.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one was the big one.
You were running crazy, too, today and didn't...
We've both been running around.
Well, I got up this morning and I had updated my site last night after coming home from mowing about 7 o'clock. For some reason, I had energy for a change. And I updated it, and I got up this morning, got on there, and pushed a button. The whole thing got deleted. So I'm only halfway through fixing just enough to get us through the show. That's a lot of links on there. I mean, look at this. Every one of these links you see on these papers.
Right. So somehow the whole front page of your website completely just deleted.
Yep.
Wow.
Fun times.
Good times.
But I did talk to Michael Crider from Farmers Insurance. You know, he's got his big food drive coming up October 3rd with the Dead Roses, Little Sister, Money Shot, Hicktown, Flatliner. And that's going to be at Wiggler's in Edwardsville. They're in Holiday Shores on October 3rd. And then 60th anniversary coming up for Halpin Music Company.
Wow.
And we'll be there live.
Yeah.
Unless you forget.
Well, my phone got smashed. It tells me what to do.
I'm keeping the money if you don't show up. So that's an extra 20. That's a lot of money for me. $25.
So that's when is that?
About what you made at your festival this week.
Oh, I didn't make that much.
Oh. You didn't make 25?
No.
Sorry to hear that, man.
It didn't make that much.
It didn't rain, did it?
It rained a bit, like all day Saturday. I think it stopped for 5 minutes. But...
It didn't rain here. We were out on the lake partying.
Oh, really, man?
Yeah.
We were just...
I don't remember what day.
A couple hours down south, and boy, it rained all day Saturday.
I'm pretty sure it rained here, too. I don't remember. Day didn't matter to me. It was just a day.
It was just a day.
Yeah.
I bought the world's biggest tarp that day and tarped an entire stage with one tarp.
World record. Sea Shanty Sing-Along coming in tonight at Morrison's Irish Pub. We got the Alton Expo kicked off last night. Yeah. Day 2, Just in Time Party Band. 7 o'clock on the riverfront in Alton. Cross the line, 7 o'clock at Fast Eddie's in Alton. Open mic with Everheart and Light at 6 o'clock at Baker's and Hale and Godfrey. Benbow City Shuffle doing the music in the park. I'm disappointed because it was going to be Scott and Michelle, but Benbow City Shuffle sneaking in there to rescue them. Graham Band 7 to 10 at George's local brew in Jerseyville tonight. Thunderstruck, an AC/DC tribute at the Wild E Theater starting at 7:30 tonight. Peter Porcelain and the Double Standard 6 to 9 at Big Daddy's in Edwardsville. Scott and Marlin 6 o'clock at Old Harold Brewery tonight in Collinsville. The Acoustic Eclectic, 7 o'clock at Deutz Village Inn in Pontoon Beach. Dave Horton, 6 to 9 at the Prairie Inn in Dorsey. Shotgun Creek down in Bell Belt, Silver Creek Saloon on Thursday nights. And then Mike Judy presents The Black Dahlia Murder with After the Burial, Carnifex, Rivers of Nihil, Underneath, and the door is at 7. That's at Pops in Chez, general admission, all ages, $25. And That's in advance, though, so you're going to have to pay $30 if you don't have tickets.
All right. There you go, $30 a day show.
That's a Thursday night, and last week, whenever Doug set in for you, because I had to do a live update, because we were a week in advance what we put out on the video, and all kinds of stuff changed in between that time, some cancellations and etc. But Doug will verify that by the time I got to the end of the list, I was about to literally pass out. My voice went out. You couldn't hear it. It was crazy. Good thing he was here to bail me out because, man, it was tough.
So this week I'm going to talk like this for the rest of the show. Now on Friday, September 10th, we got open mic from 7 to 10 at the Milton Market. That's the old Milton School in Alton. Isn't that exciting, little pig penny?
That is great news to see that they've got stuff popping up at the old Alton School, which I believe is also another haunted place here in town. So.
That's right. And then on Friday night, the Alton Expo was Smoking Lions, 6 o'clock, and the Dirty Mugs from 8 to 11 at the riverfront in Alton. How about that, big hen?
That sounds okay also. I'm a little freaked out, but let's keep going. What else have we got going on?
Well, I'd like to tell you about Jason Gordon, 7 o'clock at Bluff City Grill in Alton. That's coming down Friday night right here in the River Bend.
Sounded a little bit like the Martian there.
I want to talk high to be Martian.
All right, what else we got going on?
We've got pianos, 9 o'clock at Ragin Cajun Piano Bar in Alton on Friday.
And what else is happening?
You just want to see what voice I'm going to do next, don't you?
How about Anthony, Nanney, and Selena, 2 to 6, and Whiskey Dixon? That was always hard to say, even in a voice. 7:30 to 11:30 at Fast Eddie's in Alton, Illinois.
What's
Let me
that?
hit some effects. Porch, Cafe, pay. 7:30 at the Lodge, at the Lovejoy in Alton on Friday, Porch Cafe.
That was echoey.
Because I hit my delay.
Also, we got the Pennyless Angels, 8 p.m. down at Chez, Marilyn, in Alton on Friday night. Hill Williams, 6 to 10 p.m. at the VFW in Alton. Doppelganger, 7 to 11, Bakers and Hale on Friday night.
Man.
Oh, I'm not,
boring.
man. It is boring.
Come on.
Mo Pleasure, 7 p.m. at the
comedy,
Moose.
Pigpen.
I'm trying to get through this because we got a 55-minute
I
interview.
don't want to hear it. Let's entertain the folks.
Oh, jeez. Okay, then we got Mo Pleasure. They're going to be 7 p.m. at the Moose in Wood River. If you've never been to Wood River, you got to get down there. It's a great river made of wood.
I call it the Water Buffalo Club. Ha, 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 ha. Emerson Maybell, 5 to 8 to Stagger in again in Edwardsville. If you're driving off the road right now, get back on the road. The Vault, 6 to 9 at Big Daddy's in Edwardsville. Tom Bertolino, 7 to 10 at the Outlet at Edisons in Edwardsville, where they have Pac-Man. Lanny and Julie, 7 o'clock at the Moose in Edwardsville. Another Moose. Moose.
Also, we got the Cherry Bomb going on at the Back Door Bar in Edwardsville.
That's right, Charlie. Thunderstruck AC/DC Tribute is back for another show, 8 o'clock at the Wild E on Friday night, followed by the Midlife Duo, 6 to 10 at the Cabin at Judah Creek and Glenny Carbon.
Then we've got this
Glenn Campbell.
Friday night, Worth the Fight at Patrick's in Granite City.
Oh, you're
Be
popping
there at 9:30. Worth the Fight.
Oh, man. You know, it's a big anniversary at Deutsch Village Inn, but on Friday night, it'll be Colossal Wreck. They're doing double duty, but wait till you hear what's going down Saturday at Deutsch for the big anniversary.
I'm
And
excited.
Colossal Wreck, 8:30 to 12:30. That's the drummer from Hookie.
There we go.
Right, Butch Moore, 5:30 to 8 at the Legion in Collinsville. Down at the Legion.
And we got St. Stephen Fall Fest with Boulder Dash, 6:30 p.m. at St. Stephen's Church in Maryville.
That's on a Friday. Dana Anderson, 7 to 10 at George's Local Brew in Jerseyville. Scott and Carl, 6 o'clock at the Loading Dunk in Grafton. Dansboro, 3 to 7 at Aries in Grafton on Friday. And there's a lot more to go. Skylark Brothers, 6 to 10 at the Grafton Pub. Steve Mellis does every Friday night at the, let's try the jazz voice, Steve Mellis, 7 o'clock at the Hog Pit in Grafton on Friday night. Foreplay will be playing Foreplay 6 to 10 as they foreplay their way to Wild Pickens in Chesterfield. That's right, Dave Horton, 7 to 10 at Unwind and Wind Down. Salon and Spa Lounge in Highland.
We also have Borderline. 8 p.m. at the Shiloh Homecoming. That again, Borderline, 8 p.m.
That's right.
I feel very mellow.
You do feel mellow. Well, after Unwind Salon Spa, when you just got kind of mellow there.
I like it. We got the Grand Band.
Hey
7
there,
p.m.
good looking. Let's try the sexy voice. Hey there, good looking. The Grand Band. 7 o'clock at the venue. I can't do that one. On Main.
How about some Howlin' Wolf? We got the Grand Band going on 7 p.m. at the venue on Main in Belleville, Illinois.
Man, that effect worked. Hicktown at Silver Creek with a giant K for some reason. Saloon in Belleville. That's not bad for all the repeating I had to do today. That's my first mistake. I'm doing all right.
There you go.
Hey, there's our sponsor, Money Shot.
Yeah.
Michael Crider. 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. at the Elks Lodge in Pana.
All right. Then
That's a Pana.
That is a Pana in Pana. Roger and Neenhouse, 6 to 10 p.m. at Chateau La Vigne in Columbia.
Man, that one turned me on.
Catfish Willie. I like it.
The duo.
Yeah.
5 to 9 at Longshot Tiki Bar in Portage, Sioux.
And then, of course, Rock Bottom, 8 p.m. at the Diamond Music Hall in St. Peters, Missouri.
Last and definitely least at Rock Bottom on Friday night.
There you go. That is the Friday night in the Riverbend area, but we still have Saturday.
We do, and we
go.
have Kevin Hamilton with 55 minutes of insane, in-depth geek talk. If you are into geek talk, we are going to geek out. Seriously, if you have any interest in music production, your mind is about to be blown out of the water, folks.
I know my mind was blown conversating with this man, so it was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to hearing it again. Let's get through the Saturday.
A bunch of guys in a room that have studios, and you get dumb guys like us.
Yeah.
And a really smart guy like that. We pretty much forgot it was an interview and just started trying to figure out things we needed to do in our studios.
It became a Q&A session, more or less.
It did.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hamilton. Could you come over here and show me how to do that?
We would never forget that we're doing a radio. Are we doing a radio show?
No, it's something different.
Okay. Well, the farmers market kicks off Saturday as we go down our list of Saturday shows around the Riverbend, including Mr. Matt Hall, 5 to 8 at the Brown Bag Bistro in Alton. The Alton Expo continues. They'll have DJ Keith, 6 o'clock in Platinum Rock Legends. And I feel like I have to say something after that, but that's the actual name of the band. 8 o'clock on the riverfront in Alton. Shouldn't you say like Platinum Rock Legends Kiss or something like
Platinum Rock Legends Nobody.
I picked Kiss because I had double platinum,
Yeah,
right?
it
So I
definitely-
knew that I'd be right about platinum.
Well, we got the Trailer Park Hero, 8 p.m. at Chez, Maryland's in Alton on Saturday night, and then the NGK 7:30
Ricky.
at the Lodge. Ricky! NGK band 7:30 at the Lodge at Lovejoy in Alton.
Ricky, you can't go in there saying that. Bearded Bandits Duo, 2 to 6. Whiskey Dixon, 7:30 to 11:30 at Fast Eddie's in Alton on Saturday. Nico.
And Chubbies.
6 to 10 in Alton. Pianos, 9 o'clock at Ragin, Cajun in Alton. Yep, Troy Taylor sold out again.
Doing it again?
That's right. Undefeated right now. That is a streak that has stayed alive. And if you're just tuning in, he does this thing called Dinner and Spirits. He has sold out every single one of them. And you're going to miss out on the St. Louis Exorcism this week at the Best Western in Alton. Pat Liston, 7 to 10 at Baker's and Hale. Still plenty of time to get to Saturday and see Mr. Pat Liston at Baker's and Hale and Godfrey.
What else we got?
That's Amlar, I think is how you say that.
Where we? Amar's Rockin' for Recovery. This is going down at Central Park in Bethalto, and the people who are going to be there.
Melina Healthcare is putting this on.
Right, okay.
With Joey Mullins' bad finger.
So I guess he's...
No, it's only his finger.
It's his bad finger. The rest
what
of
I wanna
his
know
good
is-
fingers will not be there.
Is there a good finger? That's my question. There's a good bar.
I know my favorite finger.
Well...
It's my picking finger.
There you picking fingers. That's a good finger. But you know what? The two main guys from Badfinger are no longer with us. Unfortunately, they took care of themselves.
They
did.
They gave themselves the bad finger.
They did. And but they'll have guests, local guys, including the Far Gone Brothers and you and Mike.
No,
The Sean and Mike duo. That's you, Sean.
That's Shaun of the Dead right there.
I'm
not sure, but Sean and Mike duo, 4 to 10 p.m.
Speaking of the Grateful Dead, did you realize that this weekend we have the Grateful Dead, Santana, and the Beatles all in town.
The Grateful Dead, Santana, and the Beatles.
Yep, all in town. Now, how can
Now,
you
the
top a
Beatles.
weekend like that?
Now, I
didn't even bring up Badfinger, who was signed by the Beatles.
Right, right, by Apple Music, yeah.
Right.
But who amongst the Beatles are going to be in town?
Well, I'm hoping people are going to stick around as we're about to announce what that is all about. But first, we must tell you about Cherry Bomb, 8 to 11 at Martin's Tunes and Eats in Wood River. That's formerly Chico's.
Yeah.
DJ D-Way, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. at the franchise in Wood River, the Vault, and Johnny Rocket, 9 o'clock. We've had both those guys on. 9 o'clock at the Pump House in Wood River. Johnny Rocket's a guy from Anacrusis, right?
Ah, there you go.
Kevin.
I got you now.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, this one here I say for you because I was totally confused. I looked at this several times, and I'm not sure what this actually means. Can you explain what this means, the last one there?
All right, this is live music
Right.
with DJ Cricket, 8
Right.
p.m. at the Refinery Bar in Wood River.
So as a DJ, live music is my first thought when I read that. And then I thought, well, maybe someone doesn't quite understand what live music is that filled out this thing for the Refinery Bar, and they just assume a DJ is live music.
I'm confused. Maybe there is.
Maybe the guy's name is DJ.
Okay, so
maybe the guy's name is DJ.
I've
Cricket.
seen bands with DJs where there's an actual live band and DJs perform. There was a band called Molotov that would do that, where they'd have a drummer and a guitar player and singer and a guy who was DJing, so all at the same time. So
That
maybe
sounds
that's
like a
what it
cocktail,
is.
Molotov cocktail, right
There
there.
you go. I'm not sure. But go down to the refinery and check it out, and you can tell us. Report back, please.
And wear your tail.
Yes, just report back to us. Let us know what it was.
Right. Pennsylvania Slim Duo, 3 to 7 at Grafton Winery on Saturday. Tanglefoot, 6 to 10 at the Hog Pit Barbecue in Grafton. The Yacht Rockers, 5 o'clock at the Loading Dock in Grafton. Sonic Tonic, 2 to 6, and Simple Therapy, 7 to 11 at Grafton Pub. Remember, I'm going to tell you the Beatles thing is coming up.
I'm looking forward to hearing what it is.
Roaming Home, 7 o'clock at the Oyster Bar in Grafton. Wade Trent, 12 to 3, and Jim and Carl, 3 to 7 at Aries in Grafton. Fireside, 7 to 11 at the Gold Bar at Rustic Retreats in Grafton. Catfish Willie's a busy man.
He's busy.
He's back at it Saturday, 5 to 8 at the Bloody Bucket in Grafton.
Right.
Mile Station at Wild Pickens. So you can pick the train up there from 6 to 10. Borderline, 6 to 10 at the Fall Fest in Bunker Hill. And here we go, Pig Pen, which I was talking about here.
All right, what do we got?
We have the When I'm 64 Beatles Festival number 4.
Right on. I remember this.
Mm-hmm.
Up around the Warden Way, possibly. Seemed like it was up there last time. Prairie Town, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
So who is performing? At noon, we have Devin Bott and the Beatle Boys.
Okay.
1:15, The Love of Lennon.
All right.
That makes sense. 2:30, Whiskey River. I think that's Willie Nelson, but maybe the Beatles covered it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Possibly. Maybe just George Harrison covered it. I don't know. Maybe Ringo. He was in like the All-Star Band. They could have covered it. Willie might have been in the All-Star Band for one night.
He might have been.
Okay, I'll move on. 3:45, Johnny Moss. Wouldn't you say it's Johnny Moss?
Johnny Moss and the Sea Boss.
Right. That's at 5 o'clock. And then the Robert Perry Band, 6:15. Gavin O'Brien, 7:30. And this band just named themselves about 2 days ago, the 910 Band.
All right.
That's at 8 o'clock. And
they should be at 9:10.
No, wait, that's 7:30. So I got ahead of myself.
Yeah, 7:30.
8 o'clock, though, our friends, Everhart and Light.
Nice.
Going to wrap it up
All right.
in Prairie Town.
There you go.
And that's a benefit, by the way. So if you go check out this Beatles festival, you'll also be donating to Unity Lutheran Christian Elementary in East St. Louis, which I found awful strange. I would think it might be someplace in Prairie Town, but
yeah, not so much.
it might be an important place. I don't know anything about it. Lanny and Julie, 2 o'clock at the Foundry in Edwardsville. Bags fly free. They don't have to charge. 5 to 8 at the Stagger Inn in Edwardsville, the happy hour. Mike Sonderrigger, 6 to 9 at Global Brew in Edwardsville. I talked to those folks today at Global Brew. I was trying to find out what's going on with their Oktoberfest is coming up on the 13th. And they gave me the band's name. It's like some kind of German band, obviously. And I didn't write it down. It's like RHC or something like that. But we'll get to that one next week. But I told them I'd go ahead and plug it since they got back to me so fast. Scott and Michelle, 6 to 9 at Big Daddy's in Edwardsville. And here we go. Black Magic.
Ooh.
Santana Tribute. 8 o'clock at the Wild E Theater. So if you skip out on Everheart and Light, you could still catch the Santana.
There you go, man.
That'd be a night. Aaron Wilkerson, 6 to 10 at the Cabin at Judy Creek and Glen Carbon. Here you go. You can read that one.
Where we at? Beth Bombara.
And her album is called
Bomb Bourbon 2 release party. That is the Bomb Bourbon 2 release party that's happening at the Old Herald Brewery in Collinsville. I like the name.
Keep rolling.
Bomb Bourbon. Rocker X. Wait, Rocker Box.
Yeah.
Rocker Box. Okay, that took me a minute. It's kind of spelled funny. Rocker Box is 9:30 at Patrick's, and that sounds like a good time right there. I would suggest everybody get to Patrick's and Rocker Box. That is a good name.
30-year anniversary. How about that? With Scott and Michelle kicking things off, followed by Down and Dirty, 2 to 6. Tim Elmore, 6 to 7. Colossal Wreck wrapping up the night, 8:30 to 12:30 because they played Friday night, so you have to play Saturday. Where? At Deutz Village Inn in Pontoon Beach. 30 years they've been there.
Pretty good, man.
All right, you know all about these guys, so you go ahead.
All right, where are we at? Let's see. Callus Entertainment presents Fire on the Mountain Festival with Lofty's Comet, Spilling Nelson, and Sunshine Daydream. That is a Grateful Dead tribute band from like the Springfield, Illinois area. 3 to 11:30 p.m. at Nick's Bar in Granite City.
That's right. We
also got Flipside 8 p.m. at Hooch's and 16 in Granite City. Money Shot 7 p.m. at the Concordia Hall in Staunton. All you frog flippers head up to New Delhi and you can catch Flip the Frog from 7 to 11 at Whiskey Creek there. Noble 3:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Doghouse in New Douglas.
What do you think, Pigpen? Both those places, New Delhi, New Douglas, those got to be biker stops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can tell by the names of the clubs. And there's Whiskey Creek.
Yeah, Doghouse. I've seen the Doghouse. Yeah. It is right there on the side of Highway 55. Yeah. And New Delhi, the Whiskey Creek, I know a couple of them places, going up for sale as the highway starts going around there.
I bet those are cool, though, on the weekend stops, with the bike stopping in. Yeah. Good Butch stops. Moore, 6 to 9 at the Copper Dock Winery in Pocahontas on Saturday. And Dave Capoto, 3 to 7 at the Long Shot Tiki Bar in Portage Sioux on Saturday.
And it's our Saturday night.
Yeah, and I was looking forward to this one. We had him on last week and promoting this.
Yeah.
And so it happens this week. And that's the Big Trinity's Way benefit featuring Jason Gordo Gordon from 3 to 7 at Jacoby's Art Center in Alton. All right. And it's $5 unless you're under 10 or 10. Free. Right, 10 or under. Right.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Also, the Alton Expo, we got Flip the Frog down on the riverfront there. Tripwire is going to be at Chubby's from 3 to 7 p.m. on Sunday. So, Jonathan Baker, 1 p.m. at the Brown Bag Bistro in Alton.
Yeah, so I think we got a mistake there. Oh, that's Sunday. Never mind.
That's Sunday.
I'm blurring them together.
There we go. Then we got Anthony Nanney, 1 to 5 p.m. and Hollywood 5, 6 to 10 p.m. Both of those are happening at Fast Eddie's Bone Air this Sunday. Cabin Fever, 3 p.m. at Doc Holiday's in Cottage Hills. Shell Shack, 3 to 7 at Martin's, Tunes, and Eats in Wood River.
Your cousin?
Maybe. Kurt Copeland, yeah. Kurt Copeland, my long-lost kin there. Open mic night, 4 to 7 p.m. at Uncle Al's in Jerseyville. Then we got Two Pedros, 2 to 6 p.m. at the Grafton Winery.
Let's go back into Voices. Trilogy, 3 o'clock at the loading dock in Grafton. We got to get back around to where we started because Steve and Jackie are playing at 2 o'clock at the Oyster Bar in Grafton. Stacy Bertram, 1 to 5 at the Grafton Pub.
Then we got the Grand Band, 1 to 5 p.m. at Aries Winery in Grafton.
Brushville, 2 to 6. I feel like I've been in Brushville all summer long. 2 to 6 at Wild Pickens in Chesterfield. Meatwood Flack. Don't give them any. 4 to 7 at Big Daddy's in Edwardsville. Danny Callagher. 2 o'clock at the Bella Vista Winery in Maryville, and then Dave Horton 2 o'clock at Who Dat's in
That's?
Collinsville. Guess who's back at it on Sunday?
Catfish Willie Duo.
Right, 6 o'clock.
At the Patrick's in Granite City.
He had to push that one back by Sunday. You know, he'd have been worn. He's going to
Been worn out. Yeah.
Yeah. Sideman 2 to 6 at 3rd Shoot West in West Alton, Missouri. 3rd Shoot West in West Alton, Missouri.
And we got Spice It Up 3 to 7 p.m. at the Long Shot Tiki Bar in Portage, Dessous.
Yep, and our final Sunday announcement is Mike Judy and A Violent Gentleman present Bayside with guests Senses Fail, Hawthorne Heights, and Bomb Pops. 6 o'clock at Pops in Chez. Mr. Mike Judy working it hard, man.
There you go. That's a big weekend. Got a lot going on. That's mainly this side of the river, with a few exceptions that are just a hop, skip, and a jump over the river there by like Portage, Dessous. Good weekend, and now a good interview coming up. It's going to go long because we kind of went long with these gigs, but this is Mr. Kevin Hamilton from the Artisans studio in Granite City, and let's just roll the interview, man. Unless you got something else to say to introduce it, because this guy is just amazing.
Well, I did want to mention that that food drive's going on from Michael Crider on October 3rd again. So all you got to do is take some canned goods, some dry food, up to Wiggler's Bar, and you can check out Dead Roses, Little Sister, Money Shot, Hicktown, and Flatliner. That's a heck of a lineup there.
That is a good lineup.
And then don't forget about Pigpen's going to be live October 9th at the 60th anniversary of Halpin Music, and details coming forward on that. I also wanted to mention that one of the bands playing Bushfest has a brand new release out, and that band is called H7. They'll be playing Bushfest, but next weekend they're playing their CD release party. It's at the Kendall Hill Pavilion in Wood River. That's Lake Park, right? That lake down there right off 255, right?
Right.
And they're going to be playing with 86 Red, who's also going to be at Bushfest. Precarious Situation, who I believe is also going to be at Bushfest. But I'm not sure if Silver Material is one of the bands coming up at Bushfest. But yeah, congratulations to H7 on their release called Rushing. Check it out immediately. Just or listen to Kevin Hamilton.
There you go.
Oh, that was so much fun. How about you, Pigpen? Did you enjoy that? Did you have some fun with it? Did you have a little bit of fun? Just a tiny bit?
You were slightly caressing one of your nipples.
I was doing what I always do. Don't judge me. Don't you? Let's just get to the Kevin Hamilton
when you brought
interview.
up the Black Magic Band.
Let's just get to the interview.
Okay, I guess we will then.
All right, here we go.
Riverbend Talent on the Big Z. I'm Dennis, brought to you by the Halpin Music Company, by Mr. Matt Van Voorhis of Macias Insurance, and Michael Crider of Farmers Insurance. Pigpen's here, and we're talking to Kevin Hamilton tonight from Artisan Studio in Granite City. But Kevin's journey started in Los Angeles a long, long time ago when bands looked like they had spandex and fluffy hair.
That was our business suit. Sorry, that was just what evolved.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, and it was weird. It was weird going out on stage in spandex and big hair. That was you know, the first couple times you do it, you're going like, why don't I just go out naked? That's what it felt like. But then you know what? You kind of went, you know what? It's kind of cool because we don't look like somebody's next door neighbor.
Right.
I mean, I saw an interview with Alice Cooper back in the 70s where he said, you know, they said, why do you do all that? Why do you do the makeup? And he goes, no one wants to go see their next door neighbor. You want to see someone that's bigger in life. And L.A., especially at that time, the way the clubs were set up, like you didn't see the headliners. You never saw them before the show. In other words, the shows were actually more like an arena show. You had some guys that are opening for you, then the headliner's playing for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and you're playing originals. You're not playing covers in any possible way. You're playing all originals, and you've got tons of. I mean, I played through 4/4/12 cabinets. Okay?
Why?
And that was. But guess what? Because guess what? Every other band playing on the strip was doing that. See, we'd go into clubs and go, "Well, we want to play here." Okay. Well, every band's dressed like that. Okay, we gotta go find spandex.
Right.
There's actual stores for it on Melrose.
Right.
Retail Slut was one of them.
nice, I like it.
I was in there one day and I see like Joe Perry, and I'm like, oh oh, you get your stuff here too, huh? and you see the equipment, but you see the equipment, you're going, oh my God, look how much equipment they've got. I mean, it was to a point where you had to have a road crew for tearing down. Like our sound check for a headliner was 3 hours. We sound checked from 12 to 3 or 4 in the afternoon because we had, they have side fills and everything. I mean, they're running stage, actual stage monitoring system, not just something from the front of the house. The big place was Country Club. That place, they had the first MTV Music Awards in there, and that place is huge. And that was the crown jewel. It was up in the San Fernando Valley on Sherman Way. And that place seated thousands. I mean, like, think pageant and think a little bigger. And it was insane. Like, I remember running from the back of the stage at sound check because I wouldn't use my wireless system, so I had a 20-foot cable. So for sound check, I would just play on my cable to keep, preserve my battery. Right. And hey, time for backing vocals. I need to run up to the front of the stage to sing backing vocals, and I get halfway, and I got leashed. It's another 20 feet to the microphone. And when I got up to the mic and I'm playing through 200 watts, 16 speakers, and I can't hear my amps. I need me in the side. The side fill was as tall as I was. I need me in the side fill. I need me in the floor monitor. I made a huge mistake at that show. We were headlining, and I ran over to our bass player's side, and guess what? There was no guitar on his side. He was just having drums and bass. And so I'm playing, and I can't even hear myself. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
So,
that is a loud stage. Four 412s, and you can't hear yourself play. That is a loud stage.
And that was just what was going on. Drummers were doing big double bass kits with like 4 or 5, mounted toms and 1 or 2 floors. Yeah. I mean, it was insane. We had an 8-man road crew because you had to. Because there was just no way to get your stuff set up. Right. And the audience never saw you ahead of time. We had an entrance. We came in, and everybody had intro tapes, like at a concert. Like I said, it was like watching a mini concert in an arena. And, as soon as the audience could hear our intro tape, which was something I had written in school that we could actually play along with, I kind of stole from Dawkins off the Tooth and Nail album.
Right.
Nice. And so we would head down. But as soon as the audience heard the intro tape, you could hear them. You could hear like 1,000 people start going nuts, in the place because they know here they come.
Right.
And then you're playing for an hour and a half, and and actually I'll be glad I was wearing Spanx because I was sweating because I ran the stage.
Yeah.
I got tired of watching bands that would stand there and they're playing this high energy music. I go, you're boring.
Yeah.
And then I saw Van Halen. On the Van Halen 2 tour, they played at 5,000, 6,000 seat auditoriums, and they were playing out in Pasadena, which was their home stomping ground. And I remember, like, for 2 hours, they're making me tired watching them because they're just all over the stage.
Right.
And then what really impressed me was as we were leaving, everybody's, like, heading to the exits. And it's like 5,000, 6,000 people, and all of a sudden, they just start clapping. And I was like, whoa. And then that would die down. And then we go a little further, about 10 minutes later. Everybody just start bursting into applause again for what they had seen. And I went, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
They can't let it go. They can't stop celebrating what they just saw.
Because, like I said, I remember seeing, and I'm not knocking this band, I remember seeing Boston. And they sounded exactly like the record.
Wow.
And you could have put 5 cardboard cut-ups on the stage. They never moved. And I was like, oh. And what was worse, Sammy Hagar opened for them.
Right.
And I was like, he's rocking, And then they come out and they look like statues. And I thought, you're playing all these big rocking songs and you just stand there. And for me, it was fear. Like I remember like thinking when I was in earlier bands, I'd be like, I think I'll run over there. And then I'd go, wow, everybody thinks it looks stupid. Nah, I'll just stand here and be safe. So in my band, I went, okay, when the one that got signed, I was like, okay, first rule. I don't care for everybody else in the band, but I'm going to do it first and think how stupid it was later.
Yeah.
So by doing that, I slid off the stage at Gazzari's into a table full of girls.
Nice.
Perfect.
I went through the stage at Waters Club. Their club had these panels, probably like the size of 4 of these things. And the first time we played there, and our bass player was 6'2". And I was playing a lot of basketball, so I had this really good vertical leap. And I would run across our drum riser, and while he's staying up, I would jump over him in the air while we're playing the song. First time you do it, you go, oh, this was dumb. Because you're looking down going, I'm going to break a leg now, thank you. But I got to where I could really hit it. Man, I hit right in the center of one of those panels, and I went right through the floor.
Oh, my.
And so now the stage is up here, and I'm going, and I'm trying to I meant to do that. Cool, huh? Yeah, I mean,
Totally meant to do this.
Yeah.
and what's funny is, 10, 15, 20 years later, I'd have, people see me in, a store or something, and they go, I was there at the show when you fell through the stage. Do you remember the other cool parts we had?
You're right.
Thanks for remembering that bad part.
You remember the solo I ended with that night? No, I don't remember that.
So you were saying you went to school out there. It was GIT, and you went with Paul Gilbert, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Paul Gilbert was in your class.
Steve Lynch from Autograph was
Nice.
in there. Scott Henderson, who's a big jazz player, was in there. He's like a world-renowned jazz player. Frank Mbali, another big...
Right.
Okay, he was in our class. Let's see, who else is... Oh, Jennifer Batten,
Okay.
who played with Michael Jackson for a
Jackson.
long time. She was in our class. We had a whole bunch of people in that class. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. So that was eye-opening to see that type of guitar player every day when we go into work. But your band, Crossbow, you end up getting signed to Arista, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of an unknown thing because of what you're talking about right there. The competition in LA is just...
Well, it wasn't just that. What happened was we get signed, and our singer was very... Okay, if you want to know how good our singer was, have you seen Roger Waters do The Wall?
Yeah.
The guy who sings with him, Robbie, that's our singer.
No.
Okay? But he was real clean. Well, when we get signed, is right around the same time Guns N' Roses hits. And all of a sudden, everybody wants a screaming singer. And I knew we were in trouble when we went in to start recording the album because I was kind of the leader of the group. And next thing I know, our manager, who's dealing with the label a lot, but our manager's going, so, hey, man, do you think he's cutting it? I go, are you joking? He's like, well, do you think he needs to have a rougher sounding voice? I'm thinking, wait, you're like a good friend of his. Where is this coming from? And it hits me. This is coming from the label because of what Geffen had said about Guns N' Roses. And I was like, okay. See, Slaughter, you had all these raspy singers getting ready to hit. And so all the clean guys are suddenly, you're null and void. So now it's affecting our singer in the studio because now there's pressure being put on him, and now he is kind of collapsing in the studio. So, the whole thing just kind of imploded on us. What's weird, and I didn't find out this for 20 or 25 years, they sent out promotional copies of the album. I have no clue why, because we weren't even a band anymore. But I've run across people in Canada and on the East Coast, and they'll be like, yeah, I know your band. I'll go, yeah, okay, you think you know. And they go, no, you did blah, 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 blah. I go, okay, how do you know that?
Yeah.
I work with I work with a band in Texas, and the guitar player goes, my sister loved your band. I go, how would she have heard of us? We never came to Texas or anything. And he's like, but San Antonio is he was originally from San Antonio, and that's a big metal city. Like San Antonio is the metal city. And he said, well, and I said, okay, she's probably confused. No, he brought her, and she's giving me song lyrics and stuff. I'm like, how did you hear this? So something got released, and I still keep up with our guys from time to time. Like, I said, Robbie's doing all the Roger Waters stuff, and then our bass player is in Nashville, and our drummer still lives in L.A., and see, a lot of the guys that we played with, they're still out there doing, like the one guy that I didn't realize was even doing something was Mike Starr. Because he had a band called Star, and he used to follow us around, our band around, because we would do this kind of heavier version of UFO's Doctor Doctor.
Okay.
Because when we would go out, after we'd finish our show, we'd leave stage, well, we're going to have to come back and do an encore. And I started noticing that the audience energy would come down in that time period, that 10 minutes or so before we came back on stage. So I was like, well, let's pick some songs. We're not going to do covers. We're going to do our version of this song. We're going to heavy it up and do some stuff or whatever. The UFO I picked because I was like, well, no one knows who UFO is. Like 1% of the population. So, Mike Starr knew Dr. Doctor, and he would run up on the side stage, and he'd be motioning to me and be like, what's up? And he'd go, can I come out and sing? No. Because I knew what he was trying to do. He was trying to steal from our... And then, again, 10 years ago, somebody's going, Steel Panther.
Yeah.
I went... What the hell's Steel Panther? They go, oh, it's this band, and they're doing this kind of 80s homage with funny lyrics. And I went, never heard of them. Then I go start looking up who it is, and I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, Mike Starr. Yeah, I know him.
Nice.
He made it.
He made it.
But that
Steel Panther. Nice.
Yeah.
that Crossbow album, though, is where you started asking questions about recording, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where your journey began as far as a recording or
Well,
producer,
actually, what
right?
happened was, back late 70s when I was still in high school, I was starting to write songs. And I was like, man, I want to be able to hear this. Because, when you're playing guitar and you're trying to sing it, you can't really hear it from an audience perspective. So I was like, I'd record it on a cassette. That wasn't good. So I actually bought a 4-track reel-to-reel Tascam and the Tascam little 6-channel mixer board. Knew nothing about it. It took forever just to even figure out how to wire it up because there's no internet. So I'm like, I don't know. How do I get a sound? I don't see how to, okay. Finally got it to work, and I was using it only to do song ideas. I would just, do a song idea. I went and bought a little drum kit and learned to play like very, very bad drums, but I could put a drum beat on it. So I was like, and I never showed it to anybody. I want to hear it for myself. And then I would use it to give to band members. I'd be like, here's this song that I've done, and instead of like showing you the riff, let me show you what I'm doing as the feel so you get a better idea. So I was already kind of a little interested, but when we got into the recording thing, I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Do you need a console that big? I don't understand. That's got like 60, that's more than 64 channels? That's 128 on mix, whatever. And then I'm seeing microphones like a 421. I'm going, what's the phaser from Star Trek thing on a guitar amp? And producer of our album, he was noticing this. And so when it all imploded, he was like, hey, would you be curious enough to want to be like an assistant for me? And I was like, now I wasn't thinking career. I was just thinking, okay, I like learning new things. I love soaking up knowledge and stuff. So I was like, yeah, I'd love to know how all this really works, So he was actually working at Paramount a lot of times. So we were doing film stuff. And so I would like mix the music while he was mixing dialogue, and another guy would be mixing the Foley, which is the sound effects. Everything in a film is a sound effect. And then we'd be working on albums because he was trying to do a Bo Hill. He was trying to become like, Mr. Producer guy. That was Milton Berle's nephew. He produced the first Rat album, Bo Hill. Yeah. He became like a hot property in LA because of the Rat album. And so, this guy who's like, Rick was like, oh man, I want to do that. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll get to work with bands. And then that just kind of morphed. Pretty soon I got an offer from the owner at Larrabee, and he's like, hey, would you be willing to come in? Because during the day, they would have label groups would come in and do major label records. But at night, from like midnight to 8 a.m., local bands would come in to cut their demos to play at the Holiday Inn and stuff. And that's where you cut your teeth, because you could make a mistake and erase a song and all that fun stuff, and it wasn't the end of the world.
Right.
Even though that guy, Mike, he erased one of Queen's songs.
Oh, okay.
On News of the World, and they'd worked on it for 3 months. And he erased it, and when he played it the next day, hiss and silence. And he said they actually could have had him fired, but they just laughed and said, we can probably do the song better.
Wow.
But anyway,
That'd be
so I'd be
embarrassing.
in there from 12 to 8, working on these demos. And, most of it was a lot of cover songs because the people were just trying to go and play, at some little cover bar or something. But then, like, one day, what happened was I was coming out, and they were getting ready to run an Elton John session. And the engineer's not there. He's, like, caught in traffic because there's no cell phone, so they don't have a way. But in L.A., it's probably traffic. Right. Either that or he's been shot and killed.
Yeah, right.
We'll off with you. So anyway, they're like, hey, you, can you come in here? I'm like, okay. And, I'm like, all I got to do is, and the producer just said, look, all you got to do is keep the session rolling until the guy gets here. We're not expecting great things, just keep it going. And by that point, I had enough knowledge, and he had left blueprints of how he was setting things up, so I was like, okay, I'm just going to run off his cheat sheet. And basically, I'm sitting there punching in, punching out, we're just doing stuff. About an hour and a half later, he shows up. All right, thank you, bye. And I'm like, well, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Like next day, hey, could you come in and work on this other thing or assist on this thing? Oh, okay, that'd be might be fun. Because I was still doing session work as a guitar player. So I was just like I was thinking more of that as a career and not this production stuff.
Right.
And then, it just kept morphing and morphing and morphing. And then next thing I know, I'm getting bands who are like, hey, can you come and work on our record for us? And I wasn't thinking producer, because that's a whole different ball game. Like, engineer is a technician. That's all you are. You know microphones and preamps.
Signal path.
Well, but you also have to be able to interpret the producer. Yeah. Like, you'll have a producer walk in that doesn't know microphones, but he'll go, I want the toms to be really fat. Wonder what fat is. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'll stay away from the SM57, and maybe I'll put some 421s or something, or some 414s or something up on the toms, because that's what I'm thinking that is. And then you'd get guys that were more, hey, I want these on there and whatever. But they have an idea of the sound of the album that they want, because they're the director on the project. But I would watch these guys and kind of almost marvel, because I'd be like, how did he come up with that idea? That was insane, but it was great, And then I had a band that they were kind of a Red Hot Chili Peppers band that they were called 28 Miles Per Hour. And I won't tell you where they got that calculation from. It's sexual.
NDA on that one?
No, just more like, I can't believe when they told me, I went, really? How did you get this information? But
he told us in the pre-interview, for those trying to tap into that he signed a lot of NDAs, non-disclosure agreements in your career. But go ahead.
Yeah, so anyway, but I was like, man, this could be fun, because I knew the bass player pretty well. So I was like, okay, I have that connection. It's not like four strangers. And I be honest with you, I kind of felt like, I still, even as we started, I was like going, I don't know if I'm really qualified for this. But see, one of the things that the producer I've been working for, he was like, because I would be telling him something, he'd go, you're hearing the full song in your head, aren't you? Like, when you're writing a song, you're hearing all the drum parts and the bass parts and the backing vocals and synths and anything else. And I'm like, well, yeah, isn't that how everybody writes a song? And he's like, no, that's what producers do. And so I always kept that thought, like, okay, he said I was kind of doing this already. So anyway, we went and did it, and they liked the album, and that came out of it, and they got, like, I remember I got Mike Patton from Faith and War, Mr. Bungle, got his attention, because
huge fan.
They had that kind of, like I said, they had this kind of Red Hot Chili Peppers meets Metallica thing going on. Like, there was a heaviness, like suddenly they'd break into a big riff, in the middle of their thing, and I was like, that's not Chili Peppers like, but. Yeah, and so kind of from there, next thing I know, I got a call from an A&R guy at Universal to work on an Americana record. I'm like, I just worked on like this metal record.
Yeah.
You think I'm Mr. Banjo guy or something? But but I was like, wait a minute, I'm a big fan of like the Eagles from like the early Eagles records and stuff. Okay, I can play. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that record wound up doing really well. We got some songs in some film soundtracks and stuff.
What record was that?
Oh, let's see. That one was actually just called Cosmic Dust Devils.
Okay.
That was their debut on Universal, and this guy Javier was their A&R guy, Javier Willis. And after that, then I've just kind of always been producing people for the most part. I mean, I'll engineer if someone wants. It doesn't matter to me.
An interesting time, though, to get into the music industry, because everything's changing quickly during that time. You're going from glam rock to grunge, and then thrash metal's also coming in at that time, and then all these different bands like Red Hot Chili Peppers. And
I mean, country's going from Garth Brooks, and all of a sudden now it's starting to get more pop-like because these guys from L.A. heading there. And it's not just the music styles are changing. From the other side, okay, wait, what's this sound designer thing that we're supposed to be dealing with that's going to become Pro Tools? Now I got to learn this.
Right.
And all of a sudden, okay, see, you don't understand. Like, in the 70s, there's like 10 microphones that are used in the studio. Yeah. All of a sudden, you've got these mic companies coming out, and they're doing stuff. And now all of a sudden, there's all this outboard gear. It used to be, like you go in the studio, and there'd be maybe an LA2A, maybe a couple of 1176s, maybe some DBX 160s. There's your outboard gear because everything was on the console. an SSL 4000 or an E8000 console, you've got a channel strip that has compression, EQ. I mean, each channel strip is like $10,000 worth of gear in it. So so basically everything's being done off this, and you weren't doing it from outboard. But all of a sudden, this outboard stuff's starting to show up, and people are wanting to use it. Like I had a friend that he was working on the Tom Petty Free Falling. And he said, man, you got to come in here. They went and rented 30 1176 compressors. He's putting it on every single thing.
Wow.
Because it was Dowd who had done the Beatles and stuff and those guys. And I was like, oh, okay, let me go check this out. And he wasn't joking. They had just racks and racks and racks that they got from SIR of 1176s. He's putting drums, bass, guitars, vocals. And I went, whoa. And then I hear the record later and I go,
Yeah, right. Good
job. I need some 1176s in my world, which now I have 7 of them at the studio. Oh, yeah. And because that's my favorite compressor. But that's the thing. So it wasn't just like music was changing. Technology was changing on us. And the technology was also changing because of the demands of the music. Suddenly we're going drier. And we want to hear basically the vocal mic slam down the singer's throat. You know, and we want compressed. You know, they didn't compress that much on Beatles records and 70s records. They didn't do a lot of individual compression. Then you get to the 90s, and all of a sudden these groups want it to be louder, and they want it to be in your face and aggressive.
Yeah.
Now we've got to start pumping the compressors at tracking.
So you're going from vinyl to CD for those who are trying to keep up that aren't into the tech stuff here. This is what was happening
and
during
CDs
that time.
scared us.
Yeah, and that's why compression was a big deal, right, CD?
Not just that, it was what really scared people on CD was clarity.
Okay.
Because what happened was on 2-inch tape, it was rounding off the transients. Like, okay, see, here's what people don't understand about tape. Okay, so when you recorded to tape, if you think digital, we want to go to 0 and never exceed 0. That'll be a really crappy recording on 2-inch tape. You're going +6. On a kick drum and stuff, you're saturating it, and it's rounding off that sharp edge on a snare and stuff. And so that's why people go, man, it just sounds smoother on the top end when we hear like a record done on tape. Well, that's why. All of a sudden, here comes this all of a sudden we can hear the brightness. Like, okay, microphones that we didn't think of as bright microphones, you're putting them on, and then we're hearing it and going, oh my God, listen how bright that mic is. Oops. We're going to have to like take some off of here when we go to mix because on tape, that mic's not bright. On CD, everything's coming through, and all of a sudden that same mic we're hearing some things on the top ends of the frequency range that we were never hearing there before. So there were pros and cons. Like I said, as the track counts started getting better, a group like Pink Floyd would be excited to make a record now. They'd be like, woo, let's go, 1,000 tracks per song. But so there were pros and cons to it, but it was intimidating going from tape into that. And a lot of guys, I used to say it was kind of like going from silent to talkies in movies. There were guys that didn't really make the transition because they were being stubborn.
Right.
Like, okay, I'm not going to learn the new technology, and I'm going to continue making records like it's 1967. And I'm like going, you're not going to be getting any calls unless someone wants a record from 1967. But like I tell people now, it's like, look, if Led Zeppelin somehow was able to dig up John Bonham and use a lot of air freshener and get him to play again, they wouldn't record like they recorded in the 1970s. They would be taking advantage of all this technology, especially with Page. Page was huge into this stuff about being able to use it as a tool. So he'd be going, oh yeah, let's do a big track count. Let's stack some guitars. They never did that. You didn't have the room for it, the real estate. You didn't have the real estate for doing that. Unless you wanted to bounce a lot of stuff, and then you're getting degradation because you're starting to get tape hiss in as you keep bouncing.
So it's kind of a long story, but how do you end up going from L.A. and doing all that to Granite City now?
Okay, I'll cut it down.
Yeah. It's a really good story.
But see, my problem is this. I used to hate, like, I'd see a band ask a question to a producer. They'd be like, well, why do you want us to do this thing? And the guy go, basically, because I said so. Oh, I hate that answer.
Yeah.
If I'm working with you and I respect you, you deserve the answer. And I'm not going to suggest something just because I'm suggesting it. I will defend the reason I want to add this thing or I want to do it this way. I'll explain to you why. I feel like you deserve that kind of respect as my client or as my peer. So anyway, getting into the thing, we were in LA and I'm really starting to get into production side and going, maybe there's a career in this. Then there's this really weird band from Seattle shows up and screws everybody up.
Oh.
Yeah, Nirvana Hits, and
them.
they weren't supposed to be the grunge band. Do you guys know that?
No.
Mother Love Bone.
Okay. I
And
remember
Andrew
him.
Wood,
The
whose
singer
song
died.
Wood on Dirt by Alice in Chains is about him. He ODs.
Yeah.
And so guess what? The record label doesn't have an album to promote. That's why that album came out years later.
Right.
But they were the group all the other groups in Seattle wanted to be. Because I had clients later that run Sub Pop going, well, it was Mother Love Bone.
Yeah, I remember
That's who
that now.
everybody wanted to be.
Yeah.
So Nirvana Hits. Now, what's funny is when I was talking to Andy Wallace, he goes, well, we didn't think that album was going to be a hit. He said the week before it came out that he and the band were in a dressing room with Butch talking after a show. And everybody's talking about if they sold 50 or 60,000 copies, how awesome that would be.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, it would have been.
So anyway, grunge hits. And now from a record label standpoint, I'm not defending them, just saying I see their point of view also. Well, this is what the young kids want, and we want to sell records to the young kids. So basically, if you worked on anything previous to that, you're not relevant anymore because you only know how to make old guy records. You know, and people don't understand. When I put the mic in front of an amp, it won't make him country. It's his playing makes him
Right.
country, not the amp, you know. Now, if there's better amp choices, yeah, if we're going to pull a Fender Tweed out, we're probably not going to be doing a very good metal album. We're going to have a kind of a, not such a good guitar thing, but it won't be the playing. So what happened was a lot of people went to Nashville, as I was telling you, which gives you a little bit of an explanation as to why some of Nashville sounds like it sounds like today, the pop
Yeah, it
part.
makes total sense.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people went into the Austin scene because Texas really wanted to push that. And I was in Austin for about 10 or 12 years. And at first it was, like, hey. And then just started noticing that, like, groups there had no ambition. You have all these original groups there, but they didn't care if they made it or not. And like, because like they would say things like, we don't care if we sell a record. Well, if you don't care, why are you playing in clubs? Why are you waiting for applause? Why are you showing your songs to friends? Stay in your bedroom and I can guarantee your outcome. So you do want people to like you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they hate anything that's the C word.
Exactly.
Commercial. And I'm like, look, in LA, that's not an ugly word. Commercial, all it means is the public liked you. That's against that. Well, it's not just that, but it's like everybody wants people to like what they do
Recognize.
for their job, whether you're a DJ or whatever else. You want people to go, man, you do a good job.
Right.
And we've got a lot of listeners that really like you. That tells you, you know what, I'm doing something right. So anyway, and thereafter a little bit, I started having clients that were heading towards Nashville because there's kind of an Austin-Nashville connection kind of going on in there. And so I had a lot of people that had written for like George Strait, singer-songwriters, people, and they're like, man, you got to get out of Austin. So I basically made a list, like I told you. I made a list of some different places, and two of the places were Chicago and Memphis, and came back through here. This wasn't on the list, to be honest with you. I just stopped here to say hi and became intrigued. Just because of like I said, I was like, well, you guys kind of have this music scene. Now, at the time, I didn't know there was as much cover band stuff as it is. But, I was like, there's a lot of musicians here. They've got a big music history. I wonder why no one's really doing something. So as I was kind of paring my list down, I just kept coming back here. You kept staying on the list. And so, but each time I came back, I was testing things. I'm very analytical. And so, first time I came back, I was like, okay, who are the other studios around here? Who would I be competing against, and what have they done? Okay. Figured all that out. Next time I came, and I've told very few people about this one. Actually, when next time I came, I went to who I thought would be my competitors and pretended to be a singer-songwriter looking to record an album because I wanted to actually talk to the people at the studio.
That's a good strategy, and they actually teach that in business to test out the Yeah,
and what happened was, and the people who work with me get this when I say this, and I don't mean this like in a snobby way. I was looking to meet me. I wanted to meet someone who had my resume, had my experience and stuff like that, and new gear and stuff. I wanted to meet that person, and I didn't. And I kept thinking, wow, that's really strange, because I've never been in a place where it's been like that. Like in Austin, there's 10 or 15 studios that do, okay, just like in LA. What you hear on the radio, there's thousands, tens of thousands of studios in LA. For what you hear on the radio, there's about 20 to 25 studios that all that's coming out of. They're doing all the heavy lifting. Then you've got a whole bunch of demo studios and stuff, so people can say, I recorded in Los Angeles. Same thing in Austin. There was 10 studios that did all the heavy lifting, and then there's thousands of other little small studios that can say, I've got a studio in Austin. Even Nashville's got that. You know, again, you've got Ocean Way, Sound Kitchen, Blackbird, and I'd even say RCA Nashville Studios, but those three right there probably pull 80% to 90% of all the country stuff that you hear, and even rock stuff like Evanescence records in Blackbird, and they just were in Ocean Way. They were just there. So it's one of those things where, you know, so anyway, I liked the people here. Like Nashville, okay, for me it wouldn't have been a thing, but for a lot of people, what they don't understand is Nashville is incredibly competitive as musicians. Like I know really good musicians who have gone there and they couldn't even get a gig because it's that competitive, because every person out of Canada and all of the United States that wants to play country and they're good at what they do, they're coming to Nashville. And it's really hard to get gigs there. And then second, especially on the studio side of things, and LA's like this, I'm like this. The same 5 guitar players and drummers and stuff wind up playing on everything. Okay? Like they're in the 80s in Los Angeles. Jeff Beccaro played on 90% of everything that came out of LA, regardless of music style. He played on The Wall by Pink Floyd. He's on Mother, which is in 7/8 because Nick Mason couldn't play on that. And I knew Jeff. In fact, my roommates were his techs.
Wow.
So he was at our house and stuff like that. But Steve Lukather, Tim Pierce, these guys are doing all the heavy lifting. They're getting all the calls. You know, Tim Pierce is the guitar player on Runaway by Bon Jovi, not Richie Sambora.
Right.
You know, that one song has all session players on it. And same thing's happening in Nashville. If you want to be a session player, good luck, because there's 5 or 6 guys at every instrument that they're the proven guys. And I used to hate that as I was trying to break in doing session work.
Right.
Oh, man, this isn't fair. I could play what Lukather played. Come on, you know.
Yeah.
But then when I became a producer, I started noticing I'm hiring the same guys, and there was a reason. I could trust them. You know, here's my client, whether it's a record label or it's you know, singer songwriter, whoever, or their management or whoever has hired me. I can't screw the pooch. If I hire a guy in that looks incompetent and can't get the job done, that's a reflection of me. Yep. So I'm calling in the guy that I know is going to deliver the goods every time, is going to play what I want him to play. Okay, and don't take that in a weird way, but there's a reason. He's the extension of me, because I have a vision for the song, okay, and I need to stay on that. They can write a chart, they can do all this stuff, and suddenly we have a shorthand. Like with this one guy, Glenn in Austin, and he's the #1 session bass player in Austin. He's recorded with Dixie Chicks and Bob Dylan and Robert Plant and all these people worldwide. And Glenn, he and I had a shorthand. Like I could say certain words to him, and he knew exactly what I wanted at that part in the song from that word. So we had this great relationship. And so that works out really wonderful. Now, there's times where I don't want that. Like I worked on a thing where I said, you know what would be great here is a Carlos Santana type solo. And they went, we know him. Why don't we just call him?
Wow.
Nice.
So when you get something like that, well, yeah, if I bring in, say, Eddie Van Halen, or if I bring in I'm bringing him in to be him. Like, you know, people were like, oh, what are you going to tell him to do? I'm going to tell him to be him.
Yeah, do
that's what
you think's right.
But guess what? First question out of his mouth after we finished the first take was, is that kind of what you were thinking of? He's looking back at me to give him direction, even though I'm just going, be you. Yeah. Don't be Eddie Van Halen. Don't be, be you and do this thing. So sometimes you want that and sometimes you don't. Like when I did the thing with Bonnie. I knew who Bonnie was, and I'm like, we're going to let Bonnie be Bonnie.
Right.
I'm not going to tell her to tone it down, because if I tell her to tone it down, they might not like that. And I'm not going to second guess. Obviously, if they've hired her, they know what she does also. So we're going to tell her, go for it. And I encouraged her, as much as possible. I was like, man, you need to get playful. Because you see that side of her. You guys saw it, I guess, whenever, she's got this side of her. She likes cutting it up and everything like that. So I was like, let's get that incorporated. I said, start doing some ad libs where you can, ride 'em cowgirl. She started doing these things, and she got it. It's like, have an attitude, but it's okay to be wink, wink, nudge, nudge a little bit with that attitude at the same time, and that's what they loved.
We need to catch up our listeners right there, because we haven't aired the Bonnie Bramlett interview
sorry.
yet.
That's all right.
And we may before we do this, just to catch everybody up, but to tell everyone who he's talking about, Bonnie Bramlett is from Delaney and Bonnie, a group from the mid-'60s, late '60s, and she grew up here in Granite City and then ended up going to California and recording. And you did a session with her for a movie soundtrack, correct?
Yeah, it's the movie's called The Devil Has a Name. Edward James Olmos, let's see, Kate Bosworth's in it, and Martin Sheen. All these people are in it, and that's how I wound up working with her, was on that.
Right.
And you were talking about her history. I don't know if you guys know. You guys know who their guitar players were, and they asked to be in the band, because she was telling me about this. Clapton and Harrison were their guitar players.
Yeah. Clapton calls her his best friend.
Yeah.
Well, she has co-writing credits on Let It Rain, and I think Superstar by the Carpenters is another song. I mean, and then she did acting.
Oh yeah.
She was on Roseanne. She was, but she's under the name Bonnie Sheridan.
Right.
When she did Roseanne's.
We're not supposed to talk about that.
We don't talk about that.
Move on though.
I mean,
nice.
Well, see, I had a different relationship. We were talking about a lot of...
So to also catch the listeners up, we're talking to Kevin Hamilton.
Right.
Because we haven't said his name for a while. So
Artisan Studio.
I'll wear a name tag.
All right, Artisan Studio. And you're just north of the Arch right there on Route 3, right? So that...
3 or 4 minutes from the Arch. Pretty much, one of the things I liked about that, I looked at, when I decided to come here, I looked at like 80 buildings on both sides of the river, because it didn't matter to me. I don't have a horse in this here race, of Illinois or Missouri. I didn't care. I was just like, I want to find a place that works, because I had worked in enough studios. I had an idea of what I wanted. I was like, okay, I need ceilings this high. I need all these things for setting up the studio. And I looked at like 80 buildings, and what was kind of depressing was, on both sides of the river, I'm sitting there looking. I'd go in a building, and it would look nice from the outside. I'd go in, and it would just be raped on the inside. All the electrical, because they were getting the copper from that. They had stolen the air conditioner units. They were stealing the bathroom toilets and stuff. I'm like, what do you sell that at? Is this a big pawn shop?
I'm not selling that. I just needed it.
I was like, is that a big pawn shop item? I don't get it.
So, how much you give me for the toilet?
Yeah, and so I didn't have a city pick. Now I did find this church. It was awesome, but it was out in Troy, and I was like, this place is great. But I felt like I had detached from the St. Louis area, and I'm thinking, okay, my label clients won't care. Right. They'll come out there because it won't be a big deal to them. But for local groups that want to work with me, for someone on the Missouri side, this might be kind of a drive. So then I said, okay, I'll stay within that 270, 255 loop. I'll try to find a building in there. Kept looking. I was pretty much discouraged. I go into neighborhoods, and I saw this one building, and the guy says, I said, oh, that building looks nice. How's the neighborhood? He goes, really good neighborhood. Except for last week when the police raided that building next to it because there was a meth lab in there. Yeah. Probably don't want to be next to the meth lab. Okay, thank you.
You're going to have studio musicians up all night making records now.
Hey, we're over there by Ernie and Annie's. I'm like, oh, God, we'll have people over there drinking.
Right. Nice.
There was another one that was by a strip club. I'm like, oh, great. Guys will go out for lunch and never come back.
Yeah.
But anyway, and so I actually was driving by a building. I looked at another building around Granite, and it had been raped. And I was, driving back, and I saw this building, and I thought, well, that looks nice. It's too bad a building like that isn't for sale. And literally a week later, I was looking at the master listings, and I'm thinking, I think that's that building I looked at, because it does not look like anything else in Granite. Like when you see it, it stands out. It's very modern looking. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I think that's that building. So I went, oh my gosh, it's that building that I made that comment about. And rest is kind of, I guess, history.
Yeah.
Great building. And like I said, from a location, which I didn't really realize at the time because I was still new to the area, but I was like, wait a minute, like every freeway intersects just a couple of miles south of us. Mm-hmm. And if you want to come from Wentzville or something, 270, and you come right down Route 3, we're in about as good a location without having to be downtown, and you have to deal with all the parking. And also, I don't like the idea of musicians having to, like, carry, do their amps and guitars and stuff in an area where people like to mug people, and stuff like that. Because when I went to MI, it was on Hollywood Boulevard. I was carrying my Les Paul down Hollywood Boulevard, and I look back now and go, "Oh, I was insane," because I can't imagine that someone didn't mug us. Yeah.
So where are you specifically?
We're on
address?
Metering House. If you're familiar with Metering House, it's okay. Do you know where the Army? Where the old Army barracks thing is? There was like a military thing there. Okay, that's Metering House.
Okay.
If you're coming from Alton and you're going down Route 3, if you turn left right there and you go 4 blocks, we're on the right-hand side.
Right after you come over that big bridge, right?
Nope.
No.
No, we're not
Right
in downtown.
We're
before all the railroad tracks.
Okay.
It's now a port. So what is it called?
Yeah, Central Port.
Central Port.
Yeah.
It used to be an Army base right on Route 3 there.
Okay.
It's past the 270 and before you go over the bridge there. But yeah, if you make a left on that, it heads right into downtown. Not to the steel mill, but into the little.
There's American Steel is right there. Like, okay, when you go down Metering House, there's like 800 railroad tracks that get across it. And just before that is American Steel, which I think somebody said they make the carriage, which is the wheel assemblies for all the railroad cars. They make those there.
Okay.
That's why there's so many railroad tracks going in there.
Yeah.
They're coming from everywhere to get those.
Yeah, anyone who's been to Granite knows about railroad.
We're just on this side of it. As you're heading back west, so we're not downtown. We're actually like a mile west of downtown on Metering House. Like I said, if you're familiar with Ernie and Annie's, seems like everyone knows this little pub bar place. We're literally across the street from Ernie and Annie's is that. But everything else around us is residential. Yeah. And actually, it's this really neat neighborhood. The people look out for each other and stuff. So, we're very happy with where the building was and the location. Like I said, I started having groups going, we came over from Chesterfield, and it only took us like 20 minutes because we came over on this freeway. And I was like, okay, this worked.
Yeah, very centrally located there.
Yeah, nice. Without having to deal with downtown, and parking and all that stuff. Like, we've got this huge parking area next to the studio.
I want to ask one more question if I got time, Pigpen, about now a resurgence of vinyl coming back. Mm-hmm. We talked about this a little bit in the pre-interview, but we're hearing that a lot from bands now.
Yeah.
They want to go back to vinyl, and how much is that changing things again in the industry?
Well, like I said, it's affecting mastering guys probably the most. It affects me from a mixing standpoint. And there's even been times where I've mixed something for CD and mixed a vinyl version of it just because I've got to cut back and, tighten up the bass for that vinyl version, and I don't have to play that game over on the CD MP3 BS on that side.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about the groove in the album and how that affects the low end.
Basically what it is on vinyl, and most people don't know this, is the wider the groove. There's if you see like a magnified version of it, the stylus itself has a point to it, and what it is there's like a channel down there, a V channel, and there's a left and a right. Basically, what is it's coming down through there? That's what's causing the stereo. The wider that channel is, the more bass, the more bottom end you have on a record. But you sacrifice amount of time that you can play back. So, like, it's not uncommon for albums that have a lot of bass to have only, say, 4 songs and maybe 18 minutes of running time on each side. Then there's other albums that I remember buying back when I was a kid that they'd have like 5 or 6 songs on a side, but it would be a little less bass. You'd hear a little less of the low end to it. Well, that's because they were cutting narrower grooves so they could get more songs on there. So from a standpoint of... So that's a limitation also, is that, if you're doing vinyl from a song count standpoint, the other thing that I'm going to be curious to see how vinyl takes off. Yeah. I'll be honest with you, because I see all these people playing their vinyl on basically what looks like an inferior thing. And
I agree.
We played it through these $1,200 turntables through massive speak. I mean,
Moon rock needle, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and I see people playing it on these things that, like, for me was like a kid's, record player,
Right,
and I'm
right.
like, that's not the same. And also the cost. That's insane. It's like they're wanting $25. And I'm going, okay, wait, people were complaining when it was $12 for a CD, and now you're paying double for the vinyl, and then you can't carry it with you anywhere. Again, you can't carry it in your car. Well, that's why we had cassettes back in the 70s, is buy an album, record it to cassette so you could play it in your car, because you play it in your car and the needle's going to bounce.
Right.
So from that standpoint, I'll be very curious to see what happens. I don't know. It's like with cassettes. I mean, we all know that LPs sounded better than cassettes, but a cassette you could carry to the beach and you could carry it in your car, and it was so much more. It's the same reason with MP3s. I can carry a whole bunch of them on my phone.
They sound like crap, but I can take 10,000 of them.
Exactly.
They're weak and thin, but man, there's so many of them.
Well, they're using lossy compression, and that's the problem. See, again, think about it. So, okay, the equation is for 1 minute of a stereo song, okay, is 10 megabytes of space. So a 6-minute song is 60 megabytes. That same song is a 128 MP, because there's different levels of MP3.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so 128 is the one that's supposed to be CD quality. Yeah, not close, but anyway. That one, it takes that 60 megabytes and turns it into 6. And you're going, wait a minute, if I have a glass and I fill it up to here, and then I try to take that liquid and put it into the small glass, the liquid goes all over. Something's not right here. And it's lossy compression. What it does is it thinks that it's masking the things that your ear's not going to pick up.
Removing frequencies that you think you're not really noticing, but you notice them when they're gone.
It's so... I won't say depressing, but
no, it is.
Like after I finish, I'm hearing a mix at even a higher resolution than a CD. I mean, we're not recording at 16441. We're recording at 2448 or 2496. So version we hear off the speakers during mix is like woo, and then we transfer it down to 16441 for a CD, and you go, okay, still okay. Then you go to MP3 and you go, wow. I just took a Polaroid of the Mona Lisa. All of a sudden I can't see the brush strokes. It still looks pretty good, okay. I can carry this with me in my pocket, but it's not the same as seeing the thing going, wow, look at that,
Yeah, we talked about going backwards a little bit with technology. Now let's talk just a little bit about going forward and how recording online now is becoming a bigger thing, and it's getting closer to where it's a real-time thing, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it used to be you'd have to send the 2-inch tapes someplace, but it was actually easier just to have the player come to L.A. or Nashville. When we had you just fly them. It's faster, easier. Then we got to the point where we could send, like, overnight through FedEx, we could send, like, a hard drive, and then you would plug that hard drive into your system and do the stuff. Now we're getting to where you can connect. Steinberg has a thing called VST Connect, which allows you to, I can send my client the client version of VST Connect, and they can put it on their computer, open it up, and it has a version of Cubase or Nuendo, which is Steinberg's DAWs. They record into it, and I can hear what they're doing in real time, and I can give them feedback as a producer. I can tell him, oh, be more explosive on the end of this, or finish on this note, or something like that.
Wow.
And then we can record it back into our system. In other words, I don't have to wait for him to send me tracks. So we're getting, because I never have liked the idea of when we send something out, like, I'd work on an album and they'd be like, oh, we want so-and-so to sing on this. And I'd be like, okay, so we'd send them a rough stereo of that for them to put into a DAW or onto a 2-inch tape, transfer it over, and they'd record some, 2 or 3 takes and send it back to us. Except I wasn't there as the producer. I'm not there. So he's just interpreting it how he's interpreting it, and then I get it back and go, well, I wish he had gone here, or I wish he had done this, but I had no way of telling him. Now we've got to, hey, get on the phone. Hey, can you redo it, and can you do this and that and this? And so it just got very involved, and, I just was never happy with how the results are. Now we're getting more into a real-time thing. And eventually, I guess, we're probably going to be in a world where, where musicians won't really have to be in the same rooms to make things. I mean, we're already kind of getting there, especially during the COVID. Look how many groups did songs where everybody was at their home. Now, a lot of that was pre-recorded already. Like Crowded House did Don't Dream It's Over, but what you didn't know was they had all tracked it individually earlier, and then when they did that on Zoom, that was just them lip syncing to that and making it look like they were doing that.
You got to assume that most of them were doing that because you like the latency. Latency can become inaudible, but it's usually not under those circumstances.
Well, that's why you have to run really, you have to run ISDN or fiber, really fast fiber optic, because if not, there's going to be a delay. Yeah. Now, Microsoft is working on a version of this for Windows. From what I understand, it one of the last Windows things, they had, it was Stanley Clark and Herbie Hancock, but they had guys in each city play a live song together.
Nice.
And so, they're getting closer and closer to it. Yeah. But see, what's going to happen is, on a situation like that is where, again, you start getting product, though, that sometimes isn't very good. Because just because someone writes a song doesn't mean that they have the best idea of how to produce the song or the version of it. And I can show you multitude of songs where I'll show you the original person's version, and you'll go, oh, except he wrote the song. Supposedly, if everybody out there, he knows what... Tim Harden wrote City of New Orleans. Arlo Guthrie's version is the one that everybody knows. Dixie Chicks Traveling Soldier.
Willie Nelson's version, yeah.
So it's not always... The songwriter's not always right. Sometimes he is. But look at Hallelujah. Most people consider Jeff Buckley's version to be the version. Leonard Cohen's version is very good. He wrote the song. His is like going to church. He literally plays it up with a choir and a B3 and everything. Here's Jeff Buckley, and it's a vocal and a guitar. And it affects you so much more because it's just so stripped down and just intimate. And and it makes him have to work harder because he does all the dynamics vocally.
We're talking to, I'm sorry to cut you off there, Kevin. We're out of time, and thanks a lot for coming in. We're talking to Kevin Hamilton, Artisan Studios. How can we find you on the internet?
You can find the studio website, which is artisanstudios-stl.com. You can go on Facebook, and Artisan's on there. We post up a lot of our sessions, because it's strange, but people... They'll be like, oh, man, we love seeing behind the scenes, and I was like, really? It's okay. So we post up, and also I do it because I want to give, especially like the local groups. We don't normally post up when I've got a label client in because we really don't want people to in Austin, I made a mistake with a group that was real well known, and word got out that they were there. The next thing you know, there's all these people there trying to get autographs and stuff, and you're like, no. But with local groups, I feel like this is our way of promoting the local band. So when we put them up, I always make sure that I connect to their Facebook page and I give a shout out to all the individual members. So that way, when someone comes over to our page, maybe they'll go out and check out that local group and check out what they're doing, because there's lots of cool local music that you're not aware of.
All right. Well, awesome. Appreciate you coming in, and next time we got to have him back on. There's more to talk about, like those, those
scratch the surface.
Those NDAs is what I want to get into. All right.
Those get scary, man.
Yeah. All right.
Well, hey, thanks to Kevin Hamilton from Artisan Studios. Check him out on Facebook or Artisan Studio STL.
Artisan Studios-STL.com.
All right.
There you go. Thanks so much, Tim. Thanks to Halpin Music for sponsoring us all these years. Matt Van Voorhis from Macias Insurance for all the insurance and the sponsorship. And then Alex Honky, our engineer running around video. And this is sponsored by Mike Crider from Farmers Insurance.
Right.
Bum, 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 bum. So, all right. Well, thanks, everybody. Get out and support local music and art. We'll see you next week.